Okay, so this is my veal bolognese with bone marrow with a twist. We're going to turn this into a fantastic ravioli in the end. But this is how I make a simple ragu using veal mince, veal bone marrow, and lots of other bits and pieces to make it unctuous and delicious. Starting with veal mince. Now, veal mince is obviously very lean. That's kind of why the bone marrow comes into it. I love veal mince. Make meatballs with it, make all sorts with it. And I want to sort of fry that first to get some coloration on that. The colour is really important. Keep the heat up at this moment. I'm going to season it now. Moisture is cooking out of it. Just keep going until you can hear it start to fry again, and then we'll come back to it. So diced celery, diced shallot, we've got some diced carrot and diced leek. We've got half a garlic, a little bit of passata. These are veal bone marrows that have been split. They've sat in ice water for 3 days, so it sort of purges out any blood. That's a bouquet garni, which you saw on my chicken primavera with the thyme, bay leaf inside, all wrapped up in a leek, kept nice and safe so it doesn't disappear into the ragu. This is one of those posh tins of white beans, and these play a really important part in it. They make the bolognese super unctuous and delicious. They're really important, and you'll see why later on. That's a bit of flour, but it's rice flour. I like having less gluten, but still with the effect of the rice flour. That's a double brown chicken stock. You could use a cube, no problem. There's a little chili in there as well, just to give a bit of depth. So that's starting to fry now. Now I can get a bit involved and start to sort of maneuver that around. And I do want to break up those lumps. I want as much of that veal to colour as possible. Look at that, absolutely beautiful colour. It's all frying now in its own fat. That's the stage. Take your time, get to this stage. That colour is flavour. Into there now, in goes the diced veg, shallots and carrots in there. Plenty of veg, bulks it out, gives it texture, gives it contrast, really important. Now, get that in, mix that round. The trick is now, turn it off the heat. So I've turned my heat completely off now, and I'm just gonna let that sit. Can you see all that sediment on the bottom there, all that? We want all that to come off. Because there's salt in there, we turn it off, leave it like this. The salt is going to draw out the moisture from the veg is going to bleed, all that sediment's going to come off the bottom of the pan. Delicious bolognese. In goes my chili, just split that in half. Not open it completely, I just open it so it penetrates enough flavour into it. Nice head of garlic in there. In goes my little bouquet garni as well. Just leave that, that's off the heat now, no more heat, and let all the sediment come off the bottom. Take your time. Okay, so that just had like 5 minutes, and if you look there, look, all that sediment is now coming off the bottom. That's fantastic. I'm gonna scrape that now off the bottom. What's happening now is a couple of things now. This is flour, but it's not normal flour, it's rice flour. Now, obviously, flour is gonna thicken this whole thing, because I want that unctuous feeling of a ragu, a bolognese at the end. So I'm going to add a bit of that flour. It also is soaking up all that fat, and that's really important because I want to keep the fat in there. So we'll soak all that up and all that sediment off the bottom. Really lovely. It's very simple. This is something you can cook, batch cook, freeze, whatever. Now into that is going to go some beans. These are those really lovely, posh cooked beans. I think this comes because my mum used to make spag bowl with tinned baked beans, which is absolutely lovely when you're 10, not so nice now. So I think that's where the idea comes from, but actually they serve a really fantastic purpose, and they make the bolognese at the end really, really delicious and give you that sort of real food hug, that big cuddle of unctuous home-cooked food. So in goes the beans, in there. Now, some liquid in there now. Start to put the heat back on now. That's passata. Really good quality passata. Don't skimp on passata, it's not that expensive anyway. Really good quality passata. And then this is brown chicken stock. That's my liquid, quite a lot of liquid. And then I'm just gonna now bring that to the boil. Mix it up nicely, care for it, look after it, bring it up to the boil nicely. And then that's gonna see the oven for 1 hour, all right? At 180 degrees. And it's just gonna braise away. Nothing in there needs to be in the oven for an hour. But what it's actually doing is just bringing everything together to become great friends and make a really nice party. What has to go in there now is the bone marrow. And they just sit inside, and the effect these make on that is wonderful. You'll see at the end the dramatic effect they make on my veal bolognese. I never cook bolognese without bone marrow. I think it's absolutely fantastic. I use cartouche all the time because what it is, it's not a lid, and it's not tin foil and it's not open. So it's kind of that beautiful halfway house. It allows us to have steam and evaporation to happen without excess colour there, and just gives us that, it's the perfect medium. I use them all the time. So all you do, take a square of parchment, fold it, fold it, fold it again, fold it again, fold it again. Measure that to the middle of your pan, so you're right there where you know where you are in the middle, and then simply cut the cartouche there. What you end up with, a bit of the finest origami, is a perfectly round lid for your bolognese. It's going to allow evaporation, but it's not going to allow over-coloration or roasting from the top down. And the lid would keep all the moisture in. I want that moisture to evaporate to increase the flavour, the depth of flavour. So that's going to come to the boil. It's going to spend 1 hour in the oven at 180, and then we're going to have a look at him later. Okay, so that has had a full 45-50 minutes in the oven. Just the smell, wow, that is just delicious. The whole garlic, we're not going to waste it, just going to squeeze it in, scrape out all that bone marrow, so it all ends up in the bolognese. Chili has done his job, so he can come out as well now, and our bouquet garni can also come out. Don't be scared of all that fat, lean into it. This is where the flavour is. Right. Into a new container now. Not going to waste a drop of that. We're just going to allow that to cool now, just for 10 minutes, and then we'll do something quite smart with it, and you'll see how all those beautiful beans come into it, and the bone marrow and everything else. Smell. Okay, so here's that bolognese, right? You see all the fat in there. This is really important. This is where the flour and the beans really come into play. And I just pop a whisk into that now, and I just be patient, and I bring it all together really nicely, and that's going to emulsify. It's that harmony of flavour that we're going to end up with that I really want. And we then use this bolognese, a few things, mainly to make a ravioli with aged parmesan, simple as that. It's as lovely and delicious as you want it to be, and it needs to be emulsified if we're going to do that. And sometimes we make a beautiful pasta dish or a lasagna. We might make a stracciatella with veal bolognese, ragu and ricotta sale, or we might make a little lasagna with morel mushrooms, more bone marrow in the bechamel sauce, all sorts. But you'll see now that's all really beautiful, come together and nicely emulsified. I love this bolognese. In fact, I might have some for my dinner. There we go. Oh. It doesn't need any seasoning. The salt is there from the beginning. The vegetables are there. The beans are really comforting. And the veal is super present as well. So there you go. That is my veal bolognese with beans. Super comforting, super easy, no stress, batch cook, get it done, delicious, happy cooking.